Hi guys, Olive here. Here today to review mortician Caitlin Doughty's newest release, Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs? Big Questions from Tiny Mortals About Death. It was published in 2019 by W.W. Norton, and the hardcover copy comes in at 222 pages. You may know Caitlin Doughty from the hype surrounding her two previous books. Her first book, Smoke It's in Your Eyes, is her memoir of first becoming fascinated by death, up to her early experiences working within the death industry when she worked in a crematorium. And in her second book, she chronicles her travels around the world to witness different types of death rituals. And then, of course, there's her YouTube channel, Ask a Mortician, where she talks about not only her work, but also historical topics involving death. Consistent across all of these public ventures, Caitlin Doughty has been promoting death positivity. We in the Western world are so cushioned from death in a way that just hasn't been true historically. Before healthcare was what it is now, death is something that would touch your life very early on, whether it was you or someone close to you. Childbirth, infections, accidents, preventable diseases, all of these things were much more of a death sentence back then than anybody in today's world will be able to fathom. As a result, we're all really uncomfortable with talking about death, and it's nestling its way into our culture. Doughty has been attempting to expand our collective knowledge about death, and she's been trying to normalize conversations about it. Since it's going to happen to all of us, regardless of whether we're scared to name it 3 times Beetlejuice style, we might as well know about it, talk about it, and plan for it so we can enter our final resting place in exactly the way we want. But when Caitlin Doughty takes this message out on the road while promoting all of her different ventures, she gets a lot of questions from people about her work and about death in general. This isn't all that surprising considering the death illiteracy I just mentioned, but she actually gets a ton of questions from kids. It might seem odd at first that kids are so fascinated by death, but if you can remember back to when you were a kid, death felt like something that wasn't even going to happen to you. Like it was one of those far off concepts that was so distant it might as well have been on the moon. And anything dealing with something that could be considered even mildly gross was revered rather than reviled. Like going to Nickelodeon Studios and getting slimed. Back then, it was a dream. These days, I weep to think about washing that out of my hair. That is to say that a lot of things change when you get older. One thing is that you're closer to death. You understand that it's closer, and it certainly feels closer. So it actually makes a lot of sense that kids have an interest in it and questions about it. Culture isn't weighing them down, and neither is fear. If you don't already know this about me, I have worked with kids previously. I was a nanny for several years, from newborns up to age 12, and I can tell you that some of the questions they ask are wild. Sometimes the questions will be so silly that you just have to giggle along with them. Sometimes they're so off the wall that you have to ask them, what have you been hearing at school? But sometimes those wacky questions will sit with you and you'll start to wonder, yeah, I wonder why that is. And then you just have to know. And this book has all 3 of those types of questions. Questions like, will I poop when I die? And can I use bones from human cremation as jewelry? But also, what would happen to an astronaut body in space? She responds directly to the 34 total questions in this book using knowledge and experiences from her own background, but she also does a large amount of research to put these things within historical context when appropriate. All of this information is accompanied by deliciously dark illustrations, all done by DNA Ruse. Her trademark dry and of course dark humor is everywhere in this book, and she makes things silly in response to silly. And while some people, I'm sure, will call that irreverent, that we're joking around about death, I think that's precisely what we all need. If it's something we can do absolutely nothing about, then why not try to find a way to laugh about it? And really, isn't that the first way that we'll stop death from being so taboo in conversation? If we're able to loosen up a little bit, read portions of this book aloud to kids of appropriate ages, and laugh along with them, aren't we helping to dismantle this toxic cultural aspect brick by brick? Kids learn by example, and if they see us in an accepting place about death, laughing about it right along with them, it'll teach them that they don't have to spend every second of their life crippled with fear. None of us will ever love the concept of death, but why not find ways to live a more peaceful life while you're still hanging in there? Plus, I mean, if you can't laugh at the image of a corpse floating endlessly through space, What can you laugh at? Basically, this book is a ton of fun. And although it's kid-focused, it's not just for kids. I was reading portions of it aloud to my husband, and we were both riveted. This book is more casual in tone than her previous two books, as you would expect. But I think if you liked her previous books, or if you're a fan of hers in general, this one is very unlikely to disappoint. But I want to hear from you. Have you read this book? Are you planning to read this book? Or have I convinced you to give it a try? You can put that or any other comments or questions you may have down in the comment section below. But if you'd prefer to find me somewhere other than YouTube, I am on a variety of different places on social media, and the links to all of those profiles are in my description box below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!